Howdy, howdy, Sudoval here. It's time for a little bit of speculation on the upcoming Warhammer DLC. That I'm sure will have some free LC with it in terms of their lords and the pack and what will it be. And I want to talk a little bit about, sort of Game 3 is on the way. There was a post from Ella saying there's going to be news. So the news is there's going to be news about the upcoming DLC in a week or two or something like that. Obviously, the only two factions, well, I mean Beastmen and other stuff like that, but the two main factions that really need some quote unquote love are Empire and the Greenskins. I think these two factions are going to get pretty solid overhauls, just like happened with the Vampire Counts, and they got all their different vampire lords. The Dowie got a pretty significant overhaul, getting the Forge and getting a bunch of campaign mechanics. They got the Giant Slayers and a new place for Ungrim Iron Fist. I think this is going to happen with the Greenskins and the Empire, and that's going to be the theme for the DLC. Now, I did pull up a map of where I think it's going to be, and really, I could actually see that they could easily do 4 new legendary lords. There is so many lords for the Empire and the Greenskins, and really, there's still to be a pre-order DLC faction, which, I mean, I'm still convinced it's absolutely going to be Kislev. I think that makes sense because there's going to be so much going on here with Chaos and north of the Darklands. I think Kislev is going to be it. It still could be Araby. It could be, the Amazons. Heck, it could be the, the Dogs of War, or really the Southern Realms, that type of thing. But I still think it's going to be Kislev. They're hugely popular. They have amazing units. Bear Cavalry, yes please. And they're in the perfect place to give a very interesting game. So, anyways, what are they going to do for the Empire, and how are they going to update the Greenskins? Now, really, I'll talk a little bit about Empire first. Empires, I'm going to say, there's a lot to do for the Empire, and there's a lot of play space in terms of the lords and the units and the knights and everything. I think you're going to get, first of all, I think you're going to get a faction fleshed out in the Empire, maybe Marienburg or something like that. And we're really going to get a new faction. It's going to be one of the Empire factions. I think that's so they're going to be able to also use that faction to put a lord into sort of some other part of the world, so Empire has more of a broad play space instead of just being really packed so tightly up here in the Empire where everyone is, which means no matter what faction of the Empire you play, you're probably going to be playing a similar game. They're probably going to want to spread that out a little bit. So I could see them doing something with Marienburg specifically, and finding a place for a starting position for an Empire faction over here on the Vortex map, and really doing that. Now, as far as fleshing out the Empire, I can see them giving sort of Knights Panther or a bunch of different special units. The Empire still has lots to go, and then again the 2 lords, maybe they flesh out Marienburg, and they flesh out the lords. I can see them fleshing out the economy, the buildings, the way the game plays, and doing a lot for how the Empire interacts with other Empire factions and the gameplay in there. So as far as the Greenskin goes, I can see actually a couple of major things aside from the Legendary Lord. So Legendary Lord, I think they're going to go with, there's a big fat goblin, I can't remember his name, the only goblin to ever make it to Ulthuan, and I think they're going to give him a starting position in Ulthuan. Then as far as the Legendary Lords go, really, I could see them moving Azag, the Slaughter, to the north, and then maybe doing sort of the DLC with up north or something like that. really focusing on the Savage Orcs, so you might see some more Savage Orc units, a lot of separation between the gameplay between basic orcs and black orcs, Savage Orcs, and goblins, and potentially night goblins and forest goblins. Like, there's a lot of lore and a lot of places to go with these two factions in terms of the types of units you can get, the types of lords you can get, and the types of gameplay that you can really incentivize. And there is a space where you have greenskins up north, but they're not flushed out. And that, I think Azeg really found that Crown of Domination or whatever it is fairly far north. They could move him up there pretty easily. And I think really, I would love to see Azeg moved. He's not needed down in the Badlands anyways, because you already have Grimgor down there. Or you could even move Grimgor up to the north, because he spent a ton of time up in the north and fighting in Hell Pit and stuff like that. But I think Grimgor is, well, hard to say. He's really a staple in the Dwarf campaign where he is. And then you have sort of the Savage Orcs in the center of the map. And, they don't really ever play a big role in campaign. I could see them focusing on them. They might even focus a little bit on forest goblins and maybe giving a goblin camp somewhere up in the Empire, and and bringing some forest goblin units or flushing out the forest goblin units, and maybe even giving a legendary lord up there. They could easily do 2 legendary lords, and do some heroes and units for the Empire and the greenskins. I think this should be a relatively simple DLC in terms of artwork and animations, because there's really nothing they have to add in terms of animations, and very little I could see unless they have some new monster. I mean, Knights Panther are just cavalry, right? If they bring forest goblins more, they're just goblins. The legendary lords, maybe there'll be some artwork on there, but I think this will be some kind of it'll be some sort of DLC where they spread these things out through the map, because ever since the Tomb Kings drop, you've seen CA wanting to pepper factions throughout the map. Because in Game 1, the Greenskins were all here, the Empire was all here, the Dwarfs were all here, and you saw Tomb Kings, they tried to put some Tomb Kings over here, some Tomb Kings in the South Illustria, the Tomb Kings over by Arabia, Tomb Kings in the Southlands. And so I think they're going to try and pepper some of these throughout the factions. They do have some greenskins over here in Lustria. They do have some greenskins in the Southlands. I doubt they're going to really focus on them in terms of they could, though. I really do think it's going to be Greenskin and Empire. I don't know how they're going to theme it, and I don't know how they're going to do the Free Lords, but they might do the Free Lord in Ulthuan and a Free Lord over here in Naggaroth or something, or Lustria somehow. Maybe it's to do with Marienburg, maybe it's not. They'll be able to find some way to get a couple of these factions over into here, and then I have a feeling they're going to really focus on finding the main DLC, the paid DLC, with the most new units, like units that people want, maybe right in the heart of the Empire. And they might just go with forest goblins, right? They could do that. Put a forest goblin faction in here, because they really will be able to do that. And the Empire does have forest goblins right in the Empire, and they could flesh out Marienburg and one other faction. They could surprise us with a new unit like halflings or something like that. I doubt it. I think that because they're going to be working so hard on Game 3, they're probably not going to want to model something like a halfling. And then they might have a few lord moves. Like, I could see Azeg moved to the north, and I could see some work on Wurzag and the greenskins down sort of in the Badlands. So really, that's my take on where that is. I like to make these videos because then I can go back and look and see how right I was, how wrong I was. I went recently and looked back at some of the things I said about the Vampire Coast before they released. I had a lot of things wrong and a lot of things right, so I love doing this, and I know a lot of you guys like speculating on this stuff too, and so I'd love to hear from you. What do you think the DLC is going to focus on? Is it going to be Empire and Greenskins? or is it going to be something else? Will there be 4 legendary lords, sort of 2 free ones and 2 paid ones? You know, what kind of units do you think they're going to bring? Obviously, they're going to want to make units that everybody wants. And then, furthermore, you know, I've been saying for a long time, I think Kislev is going to be the pre-order DLC. What do you think is going to be the pre-order DLC for Game 3, if any? I saw a note that, that I think it was Grace who said whether there is or is not pre-order DLC for Game 3, which says there is. You wouldn't even, if there was no pre-order DLC, they wouldn't mention it at all because people are used to it. So there's definitely pre-order DLC for Game 3, and I think it's going to be Kislev. Do you think it's going to be Kislev? Do you think it's going to be Araby? Potentially, is it the Southlands or sort of like the Talea, Stalia, Border Princess, sort of that, or the Amazons, or Albion? What do you see as the pre-order DLC on the way? I'd love to hear from you. This is just pure speculation. I like to make these videos. They're quick and easy, and it's just a talk of my thoughts so that I can go back and see if I was the equivalent of the Dowie Nostradamus. Anyways, hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon.